hellhounds, chase ghosts, coming, sleep, watch out, demons are coming, run, sleep, hide, spirits, ghosts, hide, demons, hellhounds, ghosts, demons are coming.
Welcome home, my little hellhounds. Tonight we have 5 scary stories to sink our hellish teeth into. If you have any scary stories you want narrated on the channel, then submit them to Reddit r/homeofscares. Also, if you like this content, then don't forget to subscribe. And if you would be so kind and click that like button, it really helps our little channel to get noticed. Now, let's get right into it. The Stalker, posted by Bubble Bus. I was 16 and me and my friends, I'll call Evan and Jake, wanted to rent a hotel for the night since it was spring break. We got to the hotel and checked in. It had a really funky smell, but we still stayed there. Once we got to our room, it was about 3 p.m, so we decided to go swimming. The pool was downstairs. Departed from the hotel. Once we got to the entrance, there was a man, at least 6'3", in all black, with a hood, covering his face, facing us. I panicked a little, but not out loud. We got into the pool and swam for a few hours until we saw the man again, all black, sitting on a chair by the pool. I cleared my throat. Can I help you, sir? I asked. No response. I still feel a little paranoid. I put my face in the water, and at the bottom of the pool was another figure that was all black. I screamed like a little girl and ran for the door. I looked back and saw nothing. Not the guy in the chair or the guy under the pool. My friends thought I was just seeing things, but I saw what I saw, as clear as water. I didn't feel like swimming anymore, so I decided to get dinner at a nearby restaurant. I got a table for me and my friends to sit at, and there I saw once again the man all in black on the other side of the dining room, and was staring straight at me. I have had enough. I went over there and I lost track of him, and he took off. After that we decided this trip has gone too far and we should leave tomorrow morning. But my friends didn't like that idea. Once it was 10:30, I and my friends dozed off in the hotel room. I woke up to some noises. I saw a shadow of a figure at the end of my bed. I calmed myself down and told myself that it was my hat that I put there before I went to bed. I went to bed and got woken up again 30 minutes later to more noises. I was getting thirsty, so I reached under the bed and tried to grab my water bottle. But I grabbed something, and I was totally shocked by what I grabbed. It was my hat. I was not ever more scared in my life. I couldn't help but to scream at the top of my lungs when I heard a voice next to my ear say, "You're a bitch." I jumped out of bed and realised It was two men in black, right there. I tried to fight them, but it was no use once they grabbed me and dragged me out of that room. I tried to scream, but that guy was covering my mouth. I passed out and woke up on a stretcher. It turned out those guys knifed me while I passed out, and someone caught them. But the doctor said no one could catch the guys who got me. To this day, I always have a nightlight at night, so I'm not scared. It really happened. Posted by MPZ 1968. I would like to share with you an experience I had about 10 years ago, give or take. I learned several years later, after this incident, what happened to me is what doctors call sleep paralysis. I say they're full of shit. It really happened. I do not use drugs. Outside of caffeine and nicotine, I do not drink alcohol of any sort, so this was not a hallucination caused by either of the two, nor do I have any mental issues that I know of. Let's make that clear. Going back about a year before this incident, at the time, I was really into ghost hunting shows. I watched and recorded any and every show I could find that was about a team of ghost hunters investigating haunted places. Some were really good and others just sucked. No disrespect. I remember watching an episode of, in order to post on here I can't use any real names, places or addresses. Okay, let's see if I can do this. I remember watching the show where the lead hunter guy is a muscle-bound jerk who don't like bullies, but in turn is one himself. He orders his crews around like he owns them, and they follow him blindly like sheep. I think you know the one. It's a good show, at least it used to be. Anyway, they were investigating. Oh shit, here we go again. They were investigating a bar owned by an old country singer located in one of the southern states, who wrote a semi-popular song about a girl. Everyone in the paranormal community says this place is truly haunted. Okay, now that's over with, back to the story. They were down in the basement. I think it's been a while since I seen it, and to this day is the only episode of that show I will never watch again. They were talking with some guy about what goes on there, when up in the top left corner of the screen there appeared a shadow figure wearing a cowboy hat standing in the doorway. At this time in the show they stopped filming and pointed out that when they were actually down there they didn't see this figure and only discovered it while reviewing the footage. I was naive back then and I didn't really know much about the paranormal. I figured it's a TV show. What harm could it really do? Boy, was I wrong. I know now that ghosts, entities, or whatever you want to call them, can follow you home from places and are made up of energy and can travel through any energy source that they want, and one did. Now that I've given you the backstory to this story, let's proceed with the reason I'm actually writing this. Many years before this incident, an old friend of mine, back when I was 11 or 12, who I met through playing baseball in the same team. Anyway, He had recently bought a house and was looking for someone to just give his old trailer mobile home to, which is where this incident happened. We had lost contact over the years, but unbeknown to me, he had kept in contact with my father. My father gave him my number. He called me up and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. A free trailer. Just pay lot rent. Oh hell yeah, I'll take it. The trailer was old and needed work, but it was a good deal. I moved in, did some minor repairs, and a couple of weeks after that I invited my father and stepmother over for dinner. My stepmother is what she calls an old soul. She can sense when things are not right with the universe. She took one look at the place and said, "There's bad juju here. I don't like it." Every time she came to visit, she was nervous. She wouldn't sit still, always looking down the hallway. She eventually stopped coming in. She said it was too thick for her, whatever that meant. I just thought she was nuts. I know now she's not. I lived there for many years, had some strange things happen, seeing apparitions out of the corner of my eye, voices, cold breezes, etc. I just chalked it up to bad lighting, outside noises, insulation issues, some rational explanation, until that night, the night that changed my whole belief systems forever, the night I will never forget. I was laying in bed, asleep on my back, like I always do, when I woke up and noticed a black figure standing in the doorway of my bedroom. The hallway light was on. I always leave it on in case I need to make a bathroom run late at night. The light from behind the figure showed it had a head, 2 arms and 2 legs, but no eyes. It was just standing there. I blinked a couple of times to make sure I was seeing what I was seeing, and sure enough I was. Only this time when I looked at it, it was wearing a cowboy hat. The moment I realised that, I physically saw it jump from the standing position in the doorway over top of the bed and land on top of me. My body became stiff, unable to move. Out of my peripheral vision, I could see my wife lying next to me. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. I saw the figure sitting on top of me. It reached its hands down into my chest and started squeezing my lungs. I couldn't breathe. It was just squeezing the life right out of me. There I was, gasping for air, paralysed, and unable to make a sound. Just when I thought I was about to die, a series of intensely bright white lights started flashing all around the room, like a strobe light on steroids. I closed my eyes to shield them from the lights. It was that bright. All of a sudden, my body jerked a couple of times like a convulsion, and then stopped. I opened my eyes and it was gone. I was able to breathe again. I lied there, heavy breathing, for a good 20 minutes, too scared to move. When I finally got the nerve to try, I slowly moved my right hand over to my nightstand, still shaking from fear. I grabbed my phone to check the time, like I always do when I wake up in the middle of the night. The time was 3:48 a.m., the witching hour. Needless to say, I did not go back to sleep that night. I cautiously got out of bed so not to wake up my wife, and turned on every light in the house, every single one. including all the bedroom lights. How my wife stayed sleeping, I don't know, but thankfully she did. I made a pot of coffee, grabbed my Bible, and sat at the dining room table drinking coffee, Bible in hand, until the morning came. I must have smoked at least a pack and a half of cigarettes in that 3-hour span of time. I'm good with that. I'm still alive. I asked my wife if she had seen or heard anything strange the night before. She said no, and I left it at that. I didn't tell her what had happened, and I still haven't. She probably wouldn't believe me anyway. My wife and I stayed at that trailer for about 2 months after that. When we got the opportunity to rent an actual house, we took it. We packed all our things and moved out. On the last day we were ever at that trailer, my wife had left the vacuum in the back bedroom where this experience happened. She asked if I would go and get said vacuum, and I agreed. Upon entering the room, a weird sense of dread fell over me, and something inside of me told me I needed to get out of there quick. I grabbed the vacuum, ran down the hallway and out the front door as fast as I could, slamming the door behind me. I then turned around and yelled, "You want this place, you can have it. I'm gone." My wife looked at me like I lost my mind. My father and stepmother helped us move, along with some friends. My stepmother insisted that we drive all the vehicles that contained our belongings over bodies of water to block any of the bad juju from coming with us to the new house. We did, and have had no bad experiences in our new house, aside from a few really bad dreams. I had the first couple nights we were there about the trailer, but that was it. Well, that's my story. I don't really care if you believe me or not. I know for a fact it really happened. My new apartment, posted by MPZ 1968. My name is Nicholas Abernathy. My friends call me Nick. I'm 32 years old with a very, very, very sound mind. I am not crazy. Although crazy people don't know they're crazy, I am 99% sure I am not. About a year ago, I lived at 253 Dead Man's Lane in a small town in Delaware. I can't remember the name, but that is where this story takes place. There's a reason they call it Dead Man's Lane. I know that now. I don't live there anymore. I now reside at an undisclosed location due to the events that occurred at my previous residence. I don't want them to know where I am. I hope you understand. The town was a very small town, a one-stoplight town, a town so small that if you blink while driving through, you'll miss the whole entire town, which was perfect for me. It was a welcome escape from the hustle and bustle of city life, which was slowly draining me to the point of exhaustion. So when my boss at the time came to me and said that our company was downsizing and that I would be let go, I gladly took the severance package and moved on with my life. I grew up in a small town, so I was familiar with the quiet and simplicity that it offered. I longed to go back there again. So while sitting in my big city apartment, I grabbed my laptop and started to search. Small town living, houses for sale, and things of that sort. I came upon an old Victorian house built in 1859. It was beautiful, dark blue with dark grey trim. 2 floors, balcony, front porch, and a very small room at the top of the house with an octagon-shaped window in it. For some unknown reason, I've always wanted to live in a house such as this. So this was like a dream come true. The price wasn't bad, actually was pretty good. Low, some might say. I called the number displayed in the ad and made arrangements with the older gentleman on the other end to come and view the house 3 days later. Upon arriving at the house, it looked just like the picture in the ad, except there was one small detail the ad did not say. The house was in the middle of a giant dirt field, all by itself. No trees or shrubbery around, just a dirt field. That time of year, some farmer should have had corn or something growing in a field that big. But there was nothing. This struck me as kind of odd. The only thing besides the house in the field was one electrical pole with wires running from it to the house and a transformer on top. The driveway was at least a quarter-mile long, with other little road branching off of it to certain parts of the field, then connecting back to the main driveway. One road wrapped around the whole entire house. It seemed like forever to get there. Once there, I met an old man who said his name was Bernie or Benny or something with the B. I can't really remember. He said he was the owner of the house and that I could feel free to look around if I wanted. I asked if he was coming in. His face turned pale as he said, "No, I'll stay right here, thank you." Looking back now, that should have been a red flag. An owner that would not go into his own house. Red flag alert. But I was naive. Blow it off and enter the house alone. I expected it to be a little run down and dirty given the dirt field that surrounded it. But to my surprise it was immaculately clean. Completely furnished and looking like something straight out of a magazine. I went through each room in total awe of its beauty. Each room except the little room with octagon window. I couldn't find a door or staircase leading to it. This too I found a little odd. And the basement. I've never been a big fan of basements, so I figured I'll go check it out at some point. What's the big deal? It's a basement. I met up with the old man outside and we discussed and agreed on a price. He informed me that everything in the house was included in the deal under one condition. No furniture could be removed from the home or moved to any part of the home. Everything must stay exactly where it is. You may use any of the appliances, books and things of that sort, but they must be returned exactly where they are now. You may add to it, but nothing can be removed, given that all the furniture and such was from the Victorian era. I thought why get rid of it, and agreed to this condition, an agreement I would later regret. I'm going to skip the part about going to the bank and financing all that crap. No one really cares about that anyway. Moving in day was exciting for me. I finally got the house of my dreams. I started a new job. I'm back to the quiet life. I left all my furniture and stuff at my old apartment, only packing my clothes and toiletries. I figured maybe the next guy or girl could use some of it. Anyway, I met the old man at the house. I'm just going to call him Mr. B, since I can't seem to remember the man's name. I later found out that Mr. B lived just 2 blocks away with his wife of 43 years, Isabella. I never got the chance to meet Isabella, although I wish I had. He was old steel mill worker. You could tell from his physique. He may have been old, but the man had muscle. He had bought the house some 30 years back with the same conditions that he had told me. He never lived in the place. Said it troubled his wife immensely from the first day she saw it. He tried to sell it many times before, but the deals always fell through for some reason. Until then, Mr. B handed me the keys, and as he did he grabbed hold of my hand hard and pulled me to him, and whispered something in my right ear. He whispered, "Beware of the rain." There's a reason he said that to me. I know that now. He then hung his head and slowly walked away. How he knew, I don't know, but he did. My first couple of weeks in my new house were rather uneventful. The weather was nice with a slight breeze. Even opened a couple windows upstairs to get some airflow in there. I had asked the Mr. B about opening the windows. He said that was fine since they were part of the house, not possessions within the house. So I left them open for a few days. On my first night, since the place was fully furnished, I hung up my clothes, which took all of 20 minutes. I put my shampoos and such in the master bathroom, which was almost as big as my bedroom. Then went to the local grocery store for some food and drinks. I can't remember the name, it's not really important. I spent the rest of the time checking out each room, one by one, and seeing everything the house had to offer. About a week or so later, I finally found that door that led to that little room with the octagon window. It was a secret door panel hidden in the closet of the room that I decided to make my bedroom. For some unknown strange reason, something told me to push on the back of the closet. I did. The door swung open, revealing a spiral black metal staircase that led to said room. It was a very small room, about the size of a walk-in closet by today's standards. In said room was a very old desk positioned just under the octagon window, and a stand-up lamp to its left, old wood planks for walls as well as the ceiling. The floor was what looked to be brand new hardwood, so I decided to make it my office, the place I would do my writing. Since I had a great view of the dirt field out of the window, what better place to draw inspiration from? That's a joke, by the way. The rest of the house consisted of 5 bedrooms, a huge kitchen, a parlour, a living area, 3 full bathrooms, a study and a basement. Oh, that basement. I decided to check it out one night. I was bored and needed something to do. That was a bad idea. The basement was kind of creepy. I'm lying, it was real creepy. The door to the basement had little holes all along the edges, top, bottom, and right side of the door, like someone had nailed it shut at one point. The stairs leading down to the basement were old and rickety, and would probably fall apart at any given moment, unlike the rest of the house, that was immaculately clean, like I noted in previous passages. The basement, however, was not. There was dust and dirt and cobwebs everywhere. It had a strange odour. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I know now. Along the far wall there was a series of 5 file cabinets covered in dust. Over to the right, it looked like 2 metal surgical tables covered with white sheets. In the middle of these tables There was a small stand with a large glass container with tubes running out of it and some kind of pump machine behind it. All kinds of knives, gloves and masks scattered all over the floor. It looked like no one had been down here for ages. I ran up the stairs as quickly as I could, shut the basement door, and never went down there again. What was that place? About a month or so went by. All this time I couldn't get what Mr. B whispered to me on that day. I moved in, out of my head. So every morning while drinking my coffee, I really miss coffee. Anyway, I would check the weather app on my phone to see the conditions for the day. On that day, it was gonna be partly cloudy with a 60% chance of rain. Okay, maybe now we'll see what there is to be afraid of. Just like the app said, it started to rain about 4 p.m. It didn't last long, but that's how it all started. I was in my office. The rain started to fall. Almost as soon as it did, I started to hear music. Not today's music, but orchestra music, big band music. I didn't have a radio up here. I'm in the middle of a field, so it couldn't be a car. I started to get concerned. Where was it coming from? I walked down the spiral staircase to my room, still hearing it play. I walked into the hallway and to the room across from mine. As soon as I put my hand on the doorknob, it stopped. And the rain did too. That was weird, I thought. Must have been my imagination. The rain hitting the gutters somehow, making the acoustic sounds of music in the house. Something. There had to be a reason. After a while, I stopped thinking about it and went on with my night. A few days later, I ran into Mr. B at the hardware store. I told him about what had happened. He didn't seem surprised. He just said, "I tried to tell you," and left. The day that changed my life forever happened about 2 weeks later. I was at work. I had taken an assistant manager position at a local department store. The pay wasn't as good as my previous job, but it wasn't as stressful either. During my shift, this guy come up to me out of nowhere and asked, "You own the old Bennett place out on Dead Man's Lane, don't you?" I was reluctant to answer, but I finally said, yes I do. He was a big guy, biker type, 50-ish, with long grey hair and tats. He said, "You're braver than I am. I wouldn't go near that place. Hope you found Jesus. You're gonna need him." The ride home that day was unsettling. Everything that had happened was starting to get to me. I was nervous to go home after what this guy said, what Mr. B said, and the music thing, the weird basement. I was on edge so much that when I walked through the door, instead of placing my keys on the shelf by the door, I tossed my keys, hitting a small ceramic ballerina knick-knack off the shelf and breaking it. "Oh shit," I said loudly. "Something not only has to be moved, but broken." There was no way to put it back. Then I heard it. A slow, growling sound, like a wild animal, coming from the basement door, then from the kitchen, then from upstairs, then from everywhere. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my head and I fell to my knees, falling over into the fetal position. I started screaming, "Stop! Stop! I'm sorry! Please stop!" It didn't stop. It got louder and louder. From the floor, I could see the basement door open quickly, then slam shut. All the doors were doing it now, except the front door. That remained closed for some reason. I felt a very cold breeze go right through my body. Every light in the house was turning on and off, on and off. I managed to get to my feet, running down the hallway towards the kitchen. The main floor bathroom door flung open, hitting me hard and knocking me backwards. Down the hallway, I lost my footing and fell to the floor. I must have hit my head, 'cause the next thing I remember was waking up on the floor, hearing the sound of my doorbell buzzing over and over again. All was silent and calm except for the buzzing. The buzzing soon turned to a loud pounding upon the front door. I pulled myself together, standing to answer the door, when I heard, "Nick, Nick, I know you're in there. Nicholas, answer the damn door." I opened the door quickly to see Mr. B standing there, shaking, sweating. Not nearly the composed man I knew. "There's a really bad storm coming. We got to get you out of here. I can't, with all good conscience, let you stay here alone. We got to go, now." The storm clouds moved in fast, at a speed I'd never seen before. Thunder started to roar. I tried to explain to Mr. B that I have broken a knick-knack. In his panic state he said, "That's the least of your worries. Let's go." The rain started falling hard. Lightning was crashing as the thunder roared on. The music started playing again. Only this time, Mr. B heard it as well. Then, what happens next? Seems like something out of a bad horror movie. The house seems to suck Mr. B into it, nearly knocking me down in the process, and sliding him fast across the floor, and slamming him into a table that laid against the adjacent wall, breaking the leg of the table and forcing it to crash to the floor. Another thing broken. The front door slammed with a force so hard that it broke the front two windows completely out, allowing the rain to pour into the house. I quickly ran over to make sure Mr. B was okay. "Son of a bitch. It's too late. We're never getting out of here now," Mr. B said angrily. The growling started again, only this time it seemed it was right in front of us. I felt a real bad burning on my left arm. Lifting my sleeve to see what it was, I saw 3 scratch marks with blood dripping from the third. Mr. B grabbed hold of his neck after lifting his hand. I noticed the same 3 scratches. Only this time, all of them were bleeding. Bleeding bad. "The house is coming alive," he screamed. "Upstairs, we must get upstairs." A lightning bolt hit the electric pole outside, causing the house to go black. Now, in total darkness, hearing the music, hearing the growling, and both of us bleeding, I quickly pulled out my phone to turn on the light, so we could at least see. By that, Mr. B's phone was broke in the crash. I turned on my light, only to notice the cellar door slowly opening by itself, the growling getting louder, and what appeared to be a black mass of goo pouring from the basement door and heading in our direction fast. I screamed, "Look out!" and grabbed Mr. B by the arm and pulled him out of the way, barely escaping the goo. We frantically ran up the stairs. What should have been 20 to 25 steps seemed more like 30 to 40. "This house is alive," Mr. B yelled, finally reaching the top. I shined the light down the hallway of the doors. That was the second floor. The hallway seemed to be longer than I remember, with extra doors that I never had before. The walls were expanding and contracting, like the house was breathing. There was a red substance resembling blood included them for all I know, oozing from the cellar down the walls. My bedroom was at the end of the hallway. Mr. B and I made a run for the last door on the left. My bedroom. We ran and ran, and just as the red goo was about to hit the floor, I arrived at my bedroom door, grabbing the knob and opening it quickly. Looking back, hoping to see Mr. B right behind me, but unfortunately, he was not. Shining my light down the hallway, I could see that he was about a quarter of the way from the door, running as fast as he could, but getting nowhere. It was like he was running on a treadmill. The red substance oozed down to the floor and quickly made a beeline straight for Mr. B. I screamed, "Give me a hand." I stretched out my hand as far as I could. Mr. B extended his, but it was too late. The red substance reached his shoe. Mr. B screamed in agony as the substance began to burn him. The smell of burning flesh filled the hallway. As more of the substance reached him, Mr. B ignited into flames. I can still hear his screams in my head. I only lasted a few seconds and then it was gone. And so was my friend. Mr. B was gone. I quickly ran into my room. From out of my bedroom window I could see what appeared to be flames. When the lightning hit the pole, it must have caused the transformer to catch fire, igniting the house as well. The outside of the house was burning, but not the inside, and the rain wasn't stopping it. What the hell is this place? Shining my light back into my room, I could see shadows in the shape of people appearing in the walls. Some short, some tall. Then the voices started. Women, "I'm so cold." A little girl, "Mummy." Old man, "Help me." I quickly ran up to my office, the only place left to go. From out of the window I could see the rain pouring down, lightning bolts lighting up the skies. The voices continued down below. I could see the rain had fallen so hard and fast that it washed away all the dirt from the field, exposing skeletal remains all around the house. Then it hit me. Oh my God, this was not a house. It was an old funeral home, built on cemetery grounds. They must have removed the headstones and left the bodies. That would explain everything. In shock, I stepped backwards, my back hitting the wall and sliding down into the sitting position. My phone had fallen to the floor. The light just so happened to be shining on the doorway to the room. I mumbled to myself, I didn't know. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see a black mass in the shape of a person crawling through the doorway and over to me, shrieking a horrible sound. It's reaching its hand like thing out as if to choke me. Totally exhausted, I put my hands over my eyes and screamed as the shadow engulfed the room. Somebody somewhere must have seen the flames and called the fire department. From speaking with my landlord and police officials, I gathered that when they found me, I was in the basement, laying on one of the tables, mumbling to myself. I don't recall any of that. Mr. B's body was never recovered. I had told this story to the police, and some guy dressed like a Judge Judy, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. I am not crazy. I like my new apartment. It's kind of small, like a studio apartment. I got a bed and a dresser, a nightstand and a lamp. Best of all, the rent is free. I don't have to work anymore. My neighbours are nice, a little quirky if you ask me, but nice nonetheless. There's a TV that we share in the living room, a game room where we gather and play cards and ping pong and games of that sort. I have my own bathroom, which is nice. Food is included. It's mostly just mush, but it's still food. Security here is tight. There are cameras everywhere. And there are rules. If you break those rules, the landlord will move you to a much smaller apartment with no windows, but gives you this very cool jacket to wear that lets you hug yourself. I like that jacket. There are a bunch of nice ladies that come by every day, giving us little white pieces of candy. Sometimes they're different colours, but mostly white. Sometimes they even come at night. Oh, I gotta go now, it's bedtime. I'm excited. Tomorrow we go outside. Good night. The creepy stalker, posted by Hexa Links. So this happened when I was 11 years old in 6th grade. I was sent to my teacher sometimes. I'm just always quiet, but one day I was on my 6th period, which was gym, and we do laps, and then when we get to the end we make a turn, and then there is a big fence. And then when I was running, I saw a 30-year-old guy waving with a weird grin, but can't tell who he was waving at, so I kept running. Gym was over, so I packed up, getting ready to leave for home. When I was going to the gate in front, and when I exit, I see the same guy. Now he was looking, but he was not grinning no more. He was smiling now. So I started to speed walk because I was getting scared. After I got far from my school, I turned back and did not see him, so I was relieved. When I was walking, a blue car pulled up to me and rolled his window down a bit. Could not see his face, all I heard was his voice. He said, "You look like a nice kid, and smart." I just smiled and said thank you. And then he said my full name. I was shocked, and then told him how he knew my name, and then he rolled his window all the way down. It was the same guy with the creepy smile. I ran and turned back to his car, standing there. I was only 5 minutes away, so I kept running, and after I made it to my house, I was sweating, my hands shaking, and went inside and locked all the doors and windows and slept in my bed. When I woke up and went to see what time it was 11:32 p.m. and I was thirsty, so I wanted to get a water. So I got up to get a water. By the time I went to the fridge to get the cold water, I heard a knock. So I went to see who it was, and seeing the window, and what I saw shocked me. It was the smiling guy with an item in his hand. I could not see because the outside lights were off. I thought I was going to faint. I ran to my mum and dad's room and tried to open it. It was locked, so I banged loud. They got mad at me for waking them up, and I told them there was a creepy guy outside the house. So dad went and stayed with mum, and when my dad saw nothing, and then he heard a sound, so he went staying with my mum, and then I heard a scream, and then my mum called the police. The police arrived, and my dad holding the man down, and he had a kitchen knife and was breaking my window. The police arrested him and took him after 2 days. The police gave information to my dad. What happened? So my dad told me the guy has been stalking me everywhere I walk, home to school. Watch me in my window. I try to tell my friends, but they don't trust me. I'm 14 years old now, and what would have happened if I kept sleeping and did not tell my dad? The guy would have broke my window and killed me. My parents' haunted house, posted by Twilight Dreamer 87. This may be too long for some people to read, but I had to share. This is the first time I am posting anything online about this. I am a 31-year-old woman, married and recently moved back in with my parents due to moving back to town I grew up in. My husband and I are taking our time looking for our own place due to wanting something nice in the area, and that is usually hard to find. This story takes place in my parents' house, starting back 10 years ago. A description of the house for a bit of content. It's a 2-story brick stone house in city limits, but still surrounded by nothing but woods. You have to go through a garage that leads into the kitchen, with the first bedroom on your left. Past the kitchen is the main living room, and to the right is the hall that is very open. In this area you will find the main dining room and second living area, but if you continue straight you will see the staircase to your left, and even further straight is my parents' bedroom and bathroom. Going up the stairs you will come to the third living area. Yes, this house is huge, with 2 sets of French doors side by side that lead to the outside balcony. Going straight, the sharp left leads you to another 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. This is where the story takes place. The first time I stepped foot into this house, I immediately felt off, like something just wasn't right. I felt a presence, but I didn't know what or who it was. I brushed it off, thinking I was reading too much into it. I continued to feel this for the next couple of years, and because of this I didn't much enjoy visiting them. My parents liked to gamble a lot back then, so they would ask me to babysit my baby brother and sister one day on the weekend. My boyfriend, now husband, loved them, so he would always babysit with me. The first few times I really didn't pay any attention to the feeling I would get, because we would be busy playing or eating with the kids. After that things kinda chilled out, and we would end up watching movies until it was time for all of us to go to bed. Now my husband is a freak of nature, laugh out loud. It's like he falls asleep the second his eyes are closed. Me on the other hand, takes me forever to get comfortable enough to wind down my mind. I also don't sleep well, even when I do finally get to sleep. This night was the first time I saw and heard something in this brand new house. In this room, the bed is facing the doorway, but not directly in front of it. With the double doors open, you could see the front of the staircase and all the way down the hall. As long as the light is on, that is. This night only one of the hallway lights were on. I was laying in bed with the TV on, but the volume down low so I could hear if one of the kids called me. I was almost asleep when I would hear one of my siblings coming down the stairs. I open my eyes a bit and wait for them to get to the bottom of, but they never do. I don't think anything of it, close my eyes and begin to drift off again. A few minutes later, I hear it again. So I open my eyes and wait, but again they never get to the bottom. This time I sit up and listen, a bit spooked, but nothing I cannot handle. I get a bit nervous, but still I go check to see if they are there, and maybe they are scared to come all the way down or something. No one is there. Confused and thinking I must be dreaming it up, I go back to bed, this time closing one of the double doors. It was a few hours later, around 2:30 a.m, when I feel like someone is very near me, as if they are standing next to the bed, right in front of me. Usually when I open my eyes, I would see the green glow of the alarm clock on the bedside table, but this time I saw nothing. It was pitch black. I couldn't even see the hallway light on, and the TV had turned off on its own. I felt like I couldn't move. I was awake now, and scared to my bones. I was finally able to call out my husband's name, loud enough to wake him. He reached over and turned on the light, and right then, the scared feeling went away, and I was able to move. I freaked out and started crying. I couldn't begin to explain to him what happened, because even if I had, he didn't believe in those things. So I told him I was having a nightmare and asked him to go check on the kids. When he came back, he said the kids were fine and got back in bed. With the light on, I was able to fall back to sleep, but it took me forever. The next day, I told my mom about what had happened, and that's when she told me she had been hearing footsteps on the stairs at night and even saw someone standing by the door at times. She didn't tell anyone because she did not want to scare the kids. This is when she told me what she had done. She wanted to know what was going on in her house, so she went and bought a voice recorder. One day, she decided to use it and went upstairs while everyone was gone. She asked your typical questions of, who is there? Who is here? What do you want? Why are you here? And then said, you have passed away and need to go into the light. You are not welcome here. The next day, she decided to leave the recorder in one of the bedrooms upstairs while it was recording for about 4 hours while she was out running errands. I asked if she had checked it, and to my surprise, she said that she was too afraid to listen to it alone. I wanted to listen to it. Off we went to the computer and began listening to it. After it was uploaded, during the 4 hours she was gone, you could hear something clicking or tapping, sounds of a drawer opening and closing, but we weren't sure. Then we listened to the part where she was asking questions. Now you could hear a sound that resembled a fan or maybe static throughout the whole thing. So some sounds were indistinguishable, but the one sound we did hear chilled us to the core. When she asked, what do you want? It gave us an answer, changing my brother's name for this. The answer was Jamie. It didn't answer any other questions except for that one. I cried immediately. He wasn't having night terrors for no reason. Something was there for him every night. We soon asked a friend to cleanse the house. For a long time everything was okay. My brother stopped having night terrors. My mum was able to sleep comfortably, and all was good again. Until now. I have been living in this house for a month and a half. For the last 3 weeks I have been seeing things everywhere, especially when I am alone. Because of this, I won't stay alone anymore. I get this strong feeling of being watched. I had the feeling of someone pulling on my blanket at night. I think it is time for another cleanse. Oh, and just an FYI, I am the third generation on my mother's side of the family that is able to see spirits. My dad's side of the family has, in the past before I was born, practiced black magic. I don't like speaking to them, and I won't dabble in any of the spiritual stuff most people do. I stay as far away from it as possible, and I recommend that you do too. Even if you are careful, these spirits can haunt for a long time, even after you are gone. Update. So, I'm sitting on the living room floor playing with my nephew. Mum's on the left couch and sister is on the right couch. My nephew has a toy piano that is made of cloth and could be folded up. This piano is behind us in the corner with all of my nephew's other toys. We are talking and watching my nephew attempt to walk when his piano makes a sound. It's like someone is pressing the keys slowly. We stop and stare, then look at each other shocked. Then the keys are pressed rapidly until it finally shuts off on its own. Mum and I are not scared. My sister is terrified due to something happening to her last night around midnight. That is a different story. I will be posting another time. That's it for tonight, my little hellhounds. If you liked tonight's episode, then don't forget to click the like button and subscribe. Also, if you have any scary stories you would like narrated on the channel, then upload them to Reddit r/homeofscares and follow me on Twitter at homeofscares. Now, good night, my little hellhounds.